Chapter 12 Solutions. Solutions are everywhere around us. Most of the gases, liquids, and solids we see are a mixture of at least one substance dissolved in another. These are different types of solution. The air we breathe is a solution that is primarily oxygen and nitrogen gases. Carbon dioxide gas dissolved in water makes our carbonated drinks. When we make solutions of coffee or tea, we use hot water to dissolve substances from coffee beans or tea leaves. The ocean is also a solution, consisting of many salts, such as sodium chloride dissolved in water. In your medicine cabinet, the antiseptic tincture of iodine is a solution of iodine dissolved in ethanol. Because of the individual components in any mixture are not bounded to each other, the composition of these components can vary. Also, some of the physical properties of the individual components are still noticeable. For example, in ocean water, we detect the dissolved sodium chloride by the salty taste. The flavor we associate with coffee is due to the dissolved components. In a solution, the components cannot be distinguished one from another. Syrup is a solution of sugar and water. The sugar cannot be distinguished from the water. Solutions can be described by their concentration, which is the amount of solute in a specific amount of the solution. These relationships, which include mass percent, which is mass over mass, volume percent, which is volume over volume, mass volume percent, which is mass over volume, and molarity, capital M, are used to convert between the amount of solute and the quantity of its solution. Solutions also are diluted by adding a specific amount of solute to a quantity of its solution. Solutions are also diluted by adding a specific amount of solute to a solution. Solutions have different properties that depend on the concentration of particles. The particles in a solution lower the freezing point of the solvent and elevate its boiling point. In osmosis, water flows through the semipermeable membrane from a solution with a lower concentration of particles into a solution with a higher concentration of particles. 12.1 Solutions. A solution is an homogeneous mixture in which one substance, called the solute, is uniformly dispersed in another substance called the solvent. When a small amount of salt is dissolved in water, the saltwater solution tastes slightly salty. When more salt is added, the saltwater solution tastes very salty. Usually the solute, in this case the salt, is the substance present in the smaller amount, whereas the solvent, in this case water, is present in the larger amount. For example, in a solution composed of 5 grams of salt and 50 grams of water, salt is the solute and water is the solvent. In a solution, the particles of solute are evenly dispersed among the molecules within the solvent. Figure 12.1. A solution of copper 2 sulfate forms particles of solute dissolve, move away from the crystals, and become evenly dispersed among the solvent water molecules. Types of solutes and solvents. Solutes and solvents may become solids, liquids, or gases. The solution that forms has the same physical state as the solvent. When sugar crystals are dissolved in water, the resulting sugar solution is liquid. Sugar is the solute and water is the solvent. Soda water and soft drinks are prepared by dissolving carbon dioxide gas in water. The carbon dioxide gas is the solute and water is the solvent. Table 12.1 lists some solutes and solvents and their solutions. Table 12.1, some examples of solutions. Gas solutions. Gas in a gas. Example is air. Primary solute is oxygen. Solvent nitrogen. Liquid solution. Gas in a liquid. Example, soda water. Carbon dioxide is the solute. Water is the liquid. Ammonia, a gaseous ammonia, and solvent is liquid. Liquid in a liquid. Vinegar, acetic acid in a liquid, is the solute. Water is the solvent. Solid in a liquid. Seawater, sodium chloride is the solute. Water is the liquid. Solid in a solid. Brass, zinc is the solid. Zinc is the solute, and copper is the solvent. steel, carbon as the solute, iron as the solvent. Water as a solvent. Water is one of the most common substances in nature. In the water molecule, an oxygen atom shares electrons with two hydrogen atoms. Because oxygen is much more electronegative than the hydrogen, the oxygen-hydrogen bonds are polar. In each polar bond, the oxygen atom has a partial negative charge and the hydrogen atom has a partial positive charge. Because the water molecule has a bent shape, the water is a polar solvent. Attractive forces known as hydrogen bonds occur between molecules where partially positive hydrogen atoms are attracted to partially negative atoms of nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine. In the diagram, the hydrogen bonds are shown as dots between the water molecules. Although the hydrogen bonds are much weaker than covalent or ionic bonds, there are many of them linking the water molecules together. Hydrogen bonds are also important in the particles of biological compounds such as proteins, carbohydrates, and DNA. In water, hydrogen forms between the lone pairs of oxygen and one water molecule and the hydrogen in another. Formation of solutions. The interactions between the solute and the solvent will determine whether or not a solution will form. Initially, energy is needed to separate both the particles in the solute and the solvent particles. Then energy is released as the solute particles move between the solvent particles to form a solution. However, there must be attractions between the solute and the solvent particles to provide the energy for the initial separation. These attractions occur in the solute and the solvent have similar polarities. The expression like dissolves like is a way of saying that the polarities of a solute and a solvent must be similar in order to form a solution. In the absence of attractions between a solute and a solvent, there is an insufficient energy to form a solution. Figure 12.2. Like dissolves like. In each test tube, the lower layer is C2H2Cl2, more dense. The upper layer is water, less dense. A, CH2Cl2 is nonpolar and the water is polar. The two layers do not mix. B, the nonpolar solute iodine purple in the nonpolar solvent CH2Cl. The ionic solute nickel nitrate green is soluble in the polar solvent water. Possible combinations of solutes and solvents. Solutions will form when the solute is polar and the solvent is polar, when the solvent is nonpolar and the solute is nonpolar. Solutions will not form when the solute is polar and the solvent is nonpolar, or the solute is nonpolar and the solvent is polar. Solutions with ionic and polar solutes. In ionic solutes such as sodium chloride, NaCl, strong solute-solute attractions take place between positively charged sodium ions and negatively charged chlorine ions. In water, a polar solvent, the hydrogen bond provides strong solvent-solvent attractions. When sodium chloride crystals are placed in water, partially negative oxygen atoms in water molecules attract the positive sodium ions, and the partially positive hydrogen atoms in other water molecules attract negative chlorine ions. As soon as the sodium ions and the chlorine ions form a solution, they undergo hydration as the water molecules surround each ion. Hydration of the ion diminishes their attraction and other ions and keeps them in solution. The strong solute-solvent attraction between sodium and chlorine ions and the polar water molecules provide energy needed to form the solution. In the equation for the formation of the sodium chloride solution, the solid and aqueous sodium chloride are shown within the formula H2O over the arrows, which indicates that water is needed for the dissociation process, but not as a reactant. In another example, we find that a polar molecular compound such as methanol, CH3OH, is soluble in water because methanol has a polar OH group that forms hydrogen bonds with water. Polar solutes require polar solvents for a solution to form. Solutions with nonpolar solutes. Compounds containing nonpolar molecules, such as iodine, oil, or grease, do not dissolve in water because there is little or no attractions between the particles of a nonpolar solute and a polar solvent. The expression light dissolves light is a way of saying that the polarities of a solute and the solvent must be similar in order to form a solution. Figure 12.4. Molecules of the polar molecular compound methanol form hydrogen bonds with the polar water molecules to form a methanol water solution.